With thousands of organizations coming together for 3 days of climate action to commemorate Earth Day, including the U.S. President Joe Biden inviting 40 leaders to a virtual Leaders-to-Leaders Summit on climate, researchers say that climate change is disproportionately affecting women, especially in rural Africa. Hello, I'm Auriane Itangishaka, and this is Our Voices. On this week's episode, we look at how climate change impacts women in Africa, what they're doing about it, as well as their efforts to protect, preserve, and restore ecosystems. We'll also share with you ideas on what everyone can do daily to protect the environment, even during a trying time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's get started. First, let's look at what has happened in the past year of the COVID-19 pandemic. Experts say global lockdowns may have helped clear the air, with greenhouse gas emission last year down 7% from the year before, the biggest drop in history. When COVID lockdowns emptied streets, 1 count of air pollution fell in China and Europe and the United States. With so few people driving and flying, oil consumption fell off a cliff. Global greenhouse gas emission fell nearly 7% last year. It was the biggest drop in history. But it's temporary. By the end of 2020, global emissions returned to pre-pandemic levels and past them. We're still adding carbon to the atmosphere, just a little more slowly. The world needs to lower its emission by about 2.7% each year this decade to keep the planet under 2 degrees of global warming. That means big investment in renewable energy and efficiency. Experts says trillions of dollars of government COVID-19 stimulus could help speed the shift to a greener economy or lock in a hotter future. Though carbon emissions slowed, climate change did not stop. VOA's Steve Baragona has a look at the progress and disasters in the 5th year of the landmark UN Paris Agreement on climate change.
In 2020, wildfires set records from California to Siberia. The Atlantic spawned more hurricanes than ever recorded. 2020 will be the hottest or second hottest year on record. As the planet's fever rose, the world came down with COVID-19. The coronavirus pandemic emptied streets and grounded air travel. That lowered planet-warming carbon emissions by a record 7%. But that's nothing to celebrate, says World Resources Institute Director Dan Lashoff.
Clearly, the emission reductions that we've seen in 2020 due to COVID are not the right way to reduce emissions. No question about that. And most of them are potentially quickly reversible as the economy recovers.
Fundamental changes are needed around the world, he says. Some countries stepped up this year, says Columbia University law professor Michael Gerard.
The single most important climate policy event of the last year was probably President Xi of China announcing China's goal of getting to net zero emissions by 2060. Several of the countries in Europe also increased their climate ambition. So much of the rest of the world is moving in this direction.
And I have to say, the United States, under President Donald Trump, has been moving in the opposite direction, he says, loosening environmental regulations and boosting fossil fuel production. But Joe Biden's victory over Trump in November marks a new direction, he says.
There's no question that President-elect Biden is going to do a 180 from what President Trump has done.
Biden has made fighting climate change a top priority. A divided Congress may limit how far he can go to rein in emissions, though. States may go further, like California's governor did this year, ordering an end to gas-powered car sales by 2035. Banks and investors cooled on fossil fuels this year, too. Major banks said they will not invest in Arctic oil and gas projects. And the U.S. Federal Reserve called for climate action for the first time, Lashoff notes.
The idea that climate change poses a serious threat to the U.S. financial system has totally gone mainstream, and 2020 was really the year that took hold.
2020 marks the 5-year anniversary of the UN Paris Agreement to fight climate change. But the world is nowhere near the goals that leaders set to stop dangerous global warming, says UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
But the commitments made in Paris were far from enough to get there, and even those commitments are not being met.
The world's fever kept rising in 2020, and scientists say time is running out to bring it down. Steve Baragona, VOA News.
Research and lived experience have both shown that there is a direct relationship between gender and the experienced effect of climate change. According to South Africa's social justice activist Ndivile Makona, gender social norms and inequalities often put women in positions burdened by environmental change, such as water collection and farming. She tells us more from Johannesburg.
Men and women are impacted differently by climate change, mainly because of the different roles that they play in society. And it is socially constructed roles, that this is women's role, these are men's roles. And I think for women as well, it's because of the differentiated roles of men and women to access to social, economic, and physical resources. The role that women and girls play is mainly at household level. It's mainly care work, which plays an important role in our economy and society. However, it's not recognized and it's not taken as a contribution to society. Women are taking care of families, are raising children, are taking care of elderly, the sick, and also they make sure that they keep home fires burning. They make sure that there's water, there's energy, there's food on the table. And that is time wasted doing the care work, which can be shared equally between men and women, while girls don't, they spend time on fetching water, fetching wood for fuels instead of going to school. And women at the same time are losing opportunities to get meaningful jobs with meaningful remunerations. And also they don't even get an opportunity to to get information and access to knowledge that will help them know about climate change and how they can adapt.
What impactful solutions should we look for in climate justice, and particularly in the agriculture sector? Should we look more towards the farmers to do what is necessary, or more on the government level for legislation? What do you think, and where should we focus primarily?
I think it is both government and the farmers. However, it is important for that bottom-up approach, that the information, the solutions that the farmers have got at local level feeds up to the decision that are taken at policy level, especially women farmers, because they have the traditional knowledge, they have the indigenous knowledge on how our forefathers used to do it. The preserving of seeds, the crop diversification, and how to get rid of pests, the natural pesticides, and also different types of farming, especially agroecology. It's something that has been done long time ago, and they do have coping strategies and adaptive methods that they apply to make sure that their crops are healthy, their harvest, come on time, and also how to harvest water to keep their crop moist.
For the general public, what could you advise for us to do on a daily basis in order to contribute to preserving the ecosystem, the world at large?
Yeah, I think for the general public, there isn't much that can be done, but there is the little that they can do can help them, to cope and adapt where they are. Because, the major people who have to take major steps are industries, However, as lay people, it's important to get more information and knowledge about climate change so that we know how to respond to the changes that we see happening around us, know how to preserve water and use energy efficiently, and also get into a habit of not littering or illegal dumping that we see happening in communities, because that contributes to environmental degradation, and also avoid using plastic because it contributes to cutting the trees which we need to give us oxygen and absorb the carbon dioxide. And also simple things like reusing, reducing, recycling, and also rethinking of the ways, changing the ways, the habits, changing the habits, and getting into doing the right things that will help us and preserve the environment. And I think most importantly, taking part in the local government discussion, especially when it comes to IDPs, which will help them as a community.
We have to take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at solutions to help steer the global climate in the right direction. We'll look at how women in rural Senegal are producing biocoal as an alternative to cutting down trees for daily needs. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're with Our Voices. In Senegal, wood and charcoal burning make up 84% of household energy and contributes to air pollution and deforestation. To reduce such environmental damage, women at the Ecologist Association, NEBEDE, are producing biocoal as an alternative energy source. Estelle Njanjo has a story from Dakar.
Half of Senegal's households rely on wood or wood charcoal. To combat air pollution and deforestation, a cooperative of women produce biochar, an energy source made from straw. They burn it and mix the charred straw with clay and water. The end result is a carbon-neutral organic charcoal that does not involve chopping down trees. The mixture is pressed and stored, resulting in about 150 pallets of biochar per day. The initiative is diversifying the economy of a rural region where many eke out a living from livestock and fishing.
First of all, this biochar protects the forest, it protects our homes, it protects our supplies, it protects women. It protects the forest that no longer burns. It protects our lives. It is healthy. We thank God for this.
Biochar production has been launched in 18 villages in the region by the Nebedai Ecological Association, a name that means tree in the Wolof language. To fight deforestation, the group also plants trees in big cities and small villages alike. Since the beginning of the year, they have planted more than 1 million trees throughout the country. Nebedai director Jean Gop says that putting straw to good use has an added advantage.
Straw, which is the raw material of our biochar, in fact conveys thousands of bushfire across the country in the dry season. So reducing the straw is reducing bushfires and therefore preventing young trees from dying in the forests. So by consuming 1 kilogram of straw charcoal, we save the forest twice.
The benefits can be seen in Senegal's Djilor forest, patrolled by Ranger Biram Ging, who was born nearby. Ging lacks the authority to arrest those he catches cutting down trees. Rather, he reports infractions to a local village chief. Ging says rising delta waters have salted the land, posing an additional environmental challenge.
La déforestation est provoquée par les coupes abusives. Deforestation is caused by, 1, the harmful cutting of trees, illegal cutting by the population. 2, there are brush fires which can ravage miles of forest. 3, the advance of salt from the sea to the forests.
3, il y a l'avancée de la sel venue de la mer vers les forêts.
The African Union's Great Green Wall initiative is focusing on the Sahel among other regions to prevent desertification. The biochar project and efforts to combat deforestation are a vital piece of the puzzle. Estelle Janjo for VOA News, Dakar, Senegal.
Environmental campaigners fear that the COVID-19 outbreak could adversely affect the world's environment because of the increased use in single personal protective equipment, PPEs. From biodegradable plastic-free visors to reusable face masks, a group of companies in the UK are finding sustainable solutions. VOA's correspondent Mariama Diallo reports.
Discarded plastic gloves tossed by the roadside and filling bins are a reminder that the COVID-19 pandemic isn't over. As countries try to protect their citizens, demands for PPE has gone up exponentially.
I think all of us are very aware of this massive ramp up in plastic production that really is in the name of COVID-19. And one of the major uses of that has been to create plastic PPE.
Sean Sutherland is the co-founder of the group A Plastic Planet. According to them, nearly 750 million items of PPE were distributed to UK frontline staff from late February until mid-April.
Single-use, ripped off, put in the bin, exist forever unless they're burnt. We need to replace those with something that's much more nature-friendly.
As shown here, using materials other than plastic, Real Brands, a sustainable packaging firm, has recently started producing more than 1 million visor units a week since the beginning of June. Ian Bates, a company co-founder, explains.
It's made entirely of compostable and sustainable material. So the visor, the clear part, is made of wood pulp, made from trees. It's incredible that it's clear, but that's the case. And this, of course, is made of carton board. And we've designed it so that it would be as simple as possible. So you take it out of the pack, it arrives flat like that. You don't need assembly instructions. You just pop it in like that and straight on your head.
They also plan to produce gowns and gloves. Like Real Brands, other companies are also trying to do their parts by offering more sustainable PPE options, including UK-based Ocean View Mask with its VP195 reusable face mask. The company claims the 3-layer mask can be washed up to 30 times. Nicole McDermott, Chief Operating Officer.
The idea that so many of these masks are disposable, you can wear them for one day and have to be put in the bin, just seems madness. For a key part of our wardrobe to be disposable, it's not sustainable.
Discarded PPE items could add to an estimated 13 million tons of plastic that flows into our ocean every year, according to a 2018 United Nations report. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
We have to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll take a look at what some are proposing as tips on what everyone can do to help the ecosystem as we celebrate Earth Day 2021 in this month of April. A woman in Uganda is bringing her contribution in schools by teaching children the importance of trees. Stay with us.
We're bringing women's voices to the conversation, and more than that, we're building a community of inclusion and empowerment.
Here in Kinshasa, campaigns to raise awareness against the spread of coronavirus are common, but getting that information to people who have no access to water, electricity, or money can be a challenge.
We are here at Kalerwe Market in Uganda, Kampala, where in this whole market, women are crying out for their situations to change.
For women, it will be better for us.
I think a big thing for me is just being able to say that when these protests are happening, does it turn around into policy?
Our kids are raped every single day.
This movement got the government to listen. It really was powerful because it showed what is possible when men and women band together and say enough is enough.
It's not necessary anymore to climb on a car
I can be in any place to cheer with the people.
Welcome back, you with our voices. What are some tips that everyone can do to preserve the planet? Visit us on social media and tell us what you or others in your community are doing to preserve the planet. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and our handle is at VOA Our Voices. We're also on WhatsApp. Our number is right there on your screen. Now, in Uganda, environmentalist Vanessa Nakate is taking the fight against climate change to schools, rallying students to join the fight. Ahead of the Earth Day this month of April, Hilma Athumani covers one of her rallies from Kampala.
What do we want? Climate justice!
Ugandan climate activist Vanessa Nakate wants the next generation to understand the importance of trees. Nakate has since 2019 got 15 schools to join her Rise Up movement, which campaigns for better protection of Uganda's forests. But she admits creating awareness about climate change among youth remains a challenge.
Sadly, it's just about what is in the books, what is in the textbooks, what is in the theory, because you ask what climate change really is to them and their answer would be average weather conditions over a very long period of time.
But some students, like Akela Flavia, are getting the message.
The plants are important because it provides us shades. As you see, we are standing now in a shade right here. We can breathe in the fresh air. We feel the air coming to our body. I mean, it's nice. It's just so bad that you hear that they're cutting the trees down.
Deputy head teacher at Gaza Church Primary School, Olivia Nantambi, says more children need to be involved.
Because they will help protect the environment and maintain the climate. So we shall not get these droughts and all of that.
Uganda's National Forestry Authority says tree cover in 1990 was at 24%, but the timber industry and wood burning for fuel dropped it to only 9% by 2015. 95% of Ugandans rely on firewood for cooking, according to the NFA. Official programs to plant more trees helped forest cover to improve to over 12%, but Nakate says Ugandan leaders should do more.
Our message is no more empty promises from the leaders. We want real action. We want drastic action. Climate change is not something that is coming in the future. It is something that is happening right now and destroying people's lives right now.
With tree cover only half of what it once was, activists like Nakate says the future of Uganda's forests is up to the younger generation. Halima Athmani for VOA News, Kampala.
Now, a team in South Africa has won a Cape Town competition to create a zero-carbon home. Experts say that the house design, which incorporates solar power, passive cooling, rainwater harvesting, and food garden, could help reduce the nation's carbon footprint. Vinicius Assisi reports from Cape Town, South Africa.
A team of 9 South African students and young professionals won the first My Clean Green Home, a local building and design competition. The contest challenged designers to build a house that produced no carbon emissions with a budget of just $12,000.
It's a good way to bring what we believe and what we study to the general public and to actually share this with the city of Cape Town and the festival to actually educate people more about net zero carbon buildings.
Despite the small size, just 7 square meters, the house's quality surprised the public.
Being green is always expensive, so it can't be rolled out to everybody. But if this is sustainably, economically viable, then it makes a lot of sense.
Cape Town authorities say buildings consume 38% of the city's energy and generate 58% of its carbon emissions. They aim to have all new city buildings carbon neutral from 2030.
People can take elements of this home and bring it into their own houses, or they can rethink what a house might be.
South African green building experts say the net zero concept should not be limited to Cape Town. Net zero refers to when emissions are balanced by absorbing an equivalent amount from the atmosphere.
My Clean Green Home project could definitely be applied nationally. It is an example of a project that is net zero. You can go and see it. It's been built during COVID. It's been built with materials that we already have available, and that shows that it is possible.
South Africa has for years suffered rolling power cuts that leave people without electricity for hours at a time. The country's power problems could ironically help drive more South Africans to net zero buildings. Vinicius Assis for VOA News, Cape Town, South Africa.
It's time for a Women to Watch segment. Allow me to introduce you to a new member of the Our Voices team, Simengesh Yekoye. Yekoye will be our new host for the Women to Watch segment, and today she will be talking about Malawi's solo mamas. Take it away, Yekoye.
Thanks, Auriane, and hello, everyone. I am Simengesh Yekoye, and I'm so excited to be your host for this segment where we feature women and girls that have been doing amazing things for their communities, nations, and worldwide. This week, we are featuring women known as Solar Mamas. This group of women in rural Malawi are inspiring many who underestimate those who did not get a chance to attend school. They are changing lives in villages that have long lived without power by installing and maintaining solar equipments in homes and schools. Lamek Masina tells us more from Lilongwe, Malawi.
They may look like ordinary villagers, but these Malawian women are trained solar engineers. They are helping to bridge the power gap in rural Malawi, a country where only 10% of the population is connected to the power grid. Charity groups, Barefoot, and voluntary services overseas sponsored the Women's 6 Months program in India.
These women are changing the scene and the lives of many around the nation's capital city of Lilongwe by helping some start small businesses and others improve their academic experience.
The women became known as Solar Mamas and have brought solar power to over 200 households in villages around Malawi's capital, Lilongwe.
How amazing is that? Despite their lack of traditional education, Solar Mamas stood out as solar engineers, and they are helping reduce indoor air pollution. That's it for this week's Women to Watch segment. For more, visit our website, voanews.com. Until then, I am Simengesh Yekoye.
Thanks, Simengesh, and that's where we're going to end our show this week. We hope you enjoyed this program, and on behalf of my colleagues here on Our Voices and at VOA, thank you for watching. Good day.